Hello and welcome to Chat Show. Today we're talking with Asif Rehmanwala, who is the CEO of the Green Britain Group. Asif he's the CEO of Ecotricity, and Forest Green Rovers are also part of the Green Britain Group, and Asif is the Vice Chairman at Forest Green Rovers as well. He's a really sort of integral part of the team there, and Asif's going to talk to us today about his background in sort of green energy and sustainability, and how he got to where he is today, really. So Asif, I'm really sort of interested for you to share a bit about your background and I guess what led you into the energy sector.
Sure. Well, firstly, thanks for welcoming me to the podcast. I've been looking forward to it. I started off in my career really in the green energy space, or in the energy space, with the regulator of the energy market called Office of Electricity Regulation, nearly 30 years ago. And that came from spending some time at the university. I was at Staffordshire University, where there was a placement year, and I had the opportunity to go into the energy regulator and really learn about the energy market. And it was something I was always keen on, because I felt that the energy market, even back then, nearly 30 years ago, was going to play a really prominent part in the macroeconomy of the UK and the world because of sustainability.
Absolutely.
So that's where I started.
Yeah, and it's such a big thing now, but I bet back then it probably wasn't quite as much of a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, energy was a reasonably big thing because the market was being deregulated and privatized, but sustainability certainly wasn't.
And it's really a really kind of hot topic now, isn't it?
Massively, yeah. So one of the things I remember most vividly is when I moved from the regulator Ofgem and moved into the industry with Powergen, which is now E.ON. At that time, that was the world's largest investor-owned utility. And we were undertaking some forecasting of what the world would look like in 10 or 15 years' time. And we came up with 4 worlds. And of those 4 worlds, one of them was how we can protect coal. One of them was how there could be a blend of coal and gas. One of them was a gas world. And one of them was a renewables world. And at that time, the renewables world got the least amount of votes within the company of what the likely expected outcome would be in 20 years, and how wrong that was.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, very much so.
So I guess that probably led you to make some choices.
It did, actually. Yeah, it's a really good point. So coming from, being kind of born and bred in Cheltenham, which is a really fantastic place to grow up, and being able to move into the space of energy kind of globally with E.ON was a big opportunity which I took. And then realizing that actually deep green and sustainability, vision, mission-based approach, ethical approach was where my heart really was, and where I felt that the industry was going to move in the direction of, and that's what's happened over the last decade or so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so when you first joined Ecotricity, tell me a bit about the company, where they were at, sort of how many staff they had, and they've got a number of wind farms now, haven't they? Can you give me some idea of sort of statistics and how they were doing at that time?
Yeah, sure thing. But first of all, just before I do that, I should say that moving to Ecotricity was a really big move at that time, because there weren't many people moving from a big corporate organisation like E.ON and taking a risk to go to a much smaller energy company. And the rationale and the reason for doing that was meeting and being inspired by Dale Vince, the owner and founder of Ecotricity, who had created the world's first renewable energy company in Ecotricity, and had a vision and mission of really propelling renewable energy and punching above our weight as a company in the renewable space and the sustainability space in the UK, and having a message for the world. So that was a reason for joining. And to answer your question specifically around some stats of Ecotricity at the time, well, it had been in place for as a company for about 13, 14 years at the time. And it had about 30,000 customers, had a revenue of about 30 million pounds, and had about 50 staff at the time, and had probably about 30 megawatts and about 30 turbines of wind energy.
So reasonably small, I guess, in comparison to what it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a real journey of growth through a changing market, and a really, really interesting energy market. But that growth has taken us to now over £500 million revenue.
That's amazing.
Yeah, 800 staff within Ecotricity Group, and just shy of 300,000 customers, split between domestic customers, business customers, and some solar rooftop customers that we undertake the kind of administration for their revenue. So it has been quite significant growth, but what I would say is sustainable growth on a consistent basis.
Yeah. And have you been involved in the sort of strategy, the growth strategy, or have you been sort of quite hands-on in the work that you've done there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Both, I would say. So I think to really demonstrate a leadership and drive through growth for a company, it's important to do both, to have a strategic plan and a strategic roadmap, but also deliver the operations. And I think to be successful when it comes to growth is for leadership to be involved in both, to really drive the strategy with the team, and then hand in glove that with operations to ensure that the operations are delivering successfully year in, year out against the strategy. And that's what's led to the kind of growth over that period of time.
Yeah, good. Okay. So Ecotricity itself are part of a wider group, aren't they? Green Britain Group. And part of that is Forest Green Rovers, which you're involved with. And Forest Green Rovers have been recognised as one of the greenest, or is it the greenest football club in the world? Yep. Obviously, there's vegan, which comes from Delvince, so the food there is all vegan. But interested to know a little bit more about the role that you play there, and their part in sustainability, I guess.
Yeah, sure. So just rewinding back to the early part of your question there, Green Britain Group. So Green Britain Group was created a couple of years ago to really be the parent company of all of our businesses.
Okay.
And the reason I mention it just before going into the detail of Forest Green Rovers is that 80% of a person's carbon footprint comes from energy, transport and food. And they're the three areas that we're involved in. So we've got obviously energy, which is Ecotricity, which is the majority of the group in terms of revenue and people. And then we've got some new ventures businesses which we can talk about shortly. And then Forest Green Rovers. So Forest Green Rovers is a really, really great story, I would say. So Dale purchased the club probably close to 15 years ago now. He was approached by a group of people where the club was struggling financially, and it was in a village near Stroud called Nailsworth, or it is in a village in Nailsworth which has got 5,000 people. And the opportunity Dale saw in terms of being a visionary was really, really big. And that's what's kind of happened over the last 15 years. From a sustainability point of view, it's been, as you said, accredited being the greenest football club in the world by the UN and FIFA. And that's been a great accolade. That's been really kind of delivered through having some real clear foresight around what sustainability means for a football club. And it's been around those three key principles, really: energy, transport and food. So energy-wise, we've really, really worked hard through understanding what the energy needs are for the football club and trying to make them as sustainable as possible. So LED lighting, renewable energy, solar on the rooftop, battery storage rather than using diesel generators, all that kind of stuff, which has become much more mainstream now, but wasn't, a few years ago. And transport-wise, having electric chargers and really promoting renewable energy when it comes to transport has been a big part of the frontier. And then food, you mentioned it, vegan food, the first vegan food football club in the world. That had its challenges to start with.
I bet.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it's become the norm, which has been great. And my role there, I've been executive director from when Dale purchased the club, and I've been involved in various aspects of the club when it comes to the footballing side and the commercial side. And then I became vice chairman. I think it's been about 2 or 3 years now, and play an active role with the CEO at the football club to try and drive commercial value and obviously drive performance with the football side to see if we can achieve the maximum that we can, and hopefully drive our ambition to get to the championship in a few years' time.
Good. And you go along and watch the matches, do you?
I do. I go to all the home games. It's become a bit of a family event for us as a family, which is nice.
Good. Yeah. And there's been quite a bit of talk about the new stadium that they're building. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so we bought the land, again, kind of real foresight from Dale, bought the land maybe close to 10 years ago now, which is two plots of 50 acres, parcels of land just coming off Junction 13 off the M5, where we now have planning permission to build a football stadium.
Brilliant.
Which will be hopefully the most sustainable football stadium in the world, made from wood, and also an eco park, which is a set of offices which will be eco offices, again, sustainable. We're hopeful that it's going to be the kind of gateway to Stroud. There's not any football clubs between Bristol and Birmingham off the motorway where it's very accessible, very sustainable, and hopefully it would be a real location for people to come and visit, on match day, but also on non-match days.
Yeah, it'd be great to have the facility for young people to play at, hopefully, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we're going to have training pitches and a 3G pitch there. A couple of training pitches have been built already, hybrid training pitches, which is, the start of the project. And now, hopefully, over the next 3 or 4 years, the snowball effect will happen, and things will start developing really quickly.
What's the sort of projection in terms of time scale for it being?
Yeah, I get that
$1 million question.
Yeah, Devin, and I get asked that question quite a lot. I would say probably, it'll probably be 3 to 4 years. I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. That's good to have that to look forward to.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we spoke earlier about Ecotricity and Forest Green Rovers being part of the Green Britain Group. Can you tell us a bit more about the wider group and the different divisions and what they do?
Yeah, sure. So as well as Ecotricity and Forest Green, we have a number of new venture businesses, we call them.
Okay.
And they are businesses that are based on sustainability and have that ethical and values mission driven to try and make a difference in industry. So we have 4 key ones.
Okay.
One is Britwind, which is a wind turbine manufacturing business.
So do you make all the turbines for Ecotricity now for the wind farms?
No, not quite. So
sure.
The turbines that are built at Britwind are smaller turbines that can go into businesses and into homes, like homes that are owned by people with quite a lot of land, like farmers.
Okay, but so also a bit like a solar panel, you get wind turbine and that would generate energy for the home.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're looking to install a much smaller turbine that would be more mainstream in terms of accessible to many more homes. Yeah. And we export a number of turbines globally as well, so Japan, Malaysia, Australia, places like that.
Brilliant.
So they're small turbines that we manufacture, and we've got some really exciting kind of evolution happening there in terms of technology. So watch this space for that. So that's been something that we've been doing for a number of years, and it's great to be a energy company that has a product, that physical product that we can take to the market.
Yeah.
We also have a really interesting business called Sky Diamond.
Okay.
It's one where we make diamonds from taking carbon from the atmosphere and using renewable energy.
That sounds interesting.
So, yeah, it's quite different.
Yeah.
It's one where we're challenging the kind of mind trade of diamonds where we think it's unethical and it's quite carbon intensive. We're showing that there's a different way.
Yeah.
So we embarked on a vision of making these lab-grown diamonds using renewable energy and taking carbon from the atmosphere and making them of a quality and cut that is right up there with mine diamonds, and giving an alternative for people, whether it comes to an engagement ring or a wedding band or Valentine's Day or whatever it might be, giving an alternative. And we're trying to build that brand now, which is really interesting.
Amazing. So do you sell to jewelers or do you kind of make products yourself?
Both, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
So if anyone's interested, go and have a look at Sky Diamond as a website. It's just interesting to see the different designs and bespoke kind of jewellery that we create, as well as kind of more widespread jewellery, which is really interesting. And then the 2 other businesses, one of them is called Devil's Kitchen, which is where we produce vegan food.
Right, okay.
And that vegan food is distributed to thousands of primary schools across the country through arrangements with the council, which is really, really good. It really, really propels the benefit of vegan food to the children and their parents. And we also sell it to, had some arrangements to sell it into retail as well through distributors as well.
Okay.
So that's a growing business,
yeah,
and one that's getting a lot of attention, and we've expanded our capacity.
They're the guys who make all the vegan food for the football club as well.
They do, yeah. Okay. I mean, we make it at the football club as well, and they make some as well. So we have one of the really popular dishes is called Devil's Kitchen burgers.
Okay.
They're a fantastic vegan burger that is very, very popular.
Nice.
And sorry,
but a wide network of schools that you supply to as well, which is brilliant.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot broader than just the football club.
Yeah. And we're talking about things that are really, really tasty, like vegan sausages or vegan falafel balls, those kind of things that, when people maybe think about it initially and think will they be nice or not? And then it's
That's
only
it.
when
I think
have
sometimes people think vegan food might be a bit bland and not as tasty, especially when they're used to their sort of hot dog or their burger at the football. But actually, you can make it really interesting, can't you, with sort of herbs and spices and sauces and
massively, and you can get the right kind of protein balance in there as well through the use of soya or the use of corn. So there's a tofu, as well. There's another one. So you can really have the right kind of nutrients for a professional diet as well, because we do feed the vegan food when the professional first team players are with us.
Okay.
We produce the lunches and the dinners for them based on that. And I would highly recommend someone to come to Forest Green and taste the food, because it is really, really tasty.
Sounds good.
The other business, the other two businesses, one of them, the last one, is Ecotalk, which is our mobile phone business.
Right.
So we have an arrangement where we are a SIM provider and a contract provider for mobile phones.
Okay.
And it's one that we're really looking to grow. So we've got just shy of 8,000 customers now. Brilliant. But we're really looking to grow that. And the real ethos behind that is to reinvest land back into nature. So with the profits, in the same way that we use our profits in energy, we call it bills into mills. We take customers' bills, reinvest that money back into building new renewable sources of energy. It's a similar concept for Ecotalk, where we're going to be taking customers' bills and the revenue and the profit that we make from that and buying land and giving it back to nature, which is really, really important.
Yeah, that's good.
So there's this kind of eco element to the telecommunication sector and mobile phone. Everyone's got a mobile phone nowadays. Some people have more than one. And if we can grow that customer base and take that profit and give it back to nature, that would be a really big give back to the environment from our mobile phone business.
Amazing. And that land, is that, when you say giving back to nature, is that with a view to preserving it as green land?
Absolutely, letting it grow all of the kind of herbal lays and all of the the great nutrients and benefits that come from land and all the insects that come with that.
Good. Sounds amazing. Okay. With Ecotricity, obviously, like you say, it's grown massively since you joined to be now sort of 800 plus employees. And sustainability is such a sort of hot topic now, and I guess a career that, maybe a lot of young people would be interested in moving into. I know myself, I started an environmental studies degree through the Open University when I was younger, and found it really, really interesting. In terms of attracting new candidates to come and work for the company and that sort of thing, how do you sort of get involved? Do you do any apprenticeships or anything like that to attract young people to come and work for the business?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We do, to answer that question, we do some apprenticeships, whether it's in Ecotricity or in Britwind or somewhere like that, or our operations and maintenance centre up in Louth. So we do. But from a career choice point of view, certainly it's an area where we would expect the pathway to net zero and clean power from the current government in 2030 will open up tens of thousands of jobs if it's done in the right way from industry. So there's a massive opportunity across all different business areas. So it might be construction, it might be engineering, it might be electrical engineering, it might be retail. There's so many different career choices within the sustainability space that I think is going to be a massive area for young people to move into jobs. And Ecotricity specifically, there's been a big change over the time that I've been there. So, we were Stroud-centric previously, and sometimes struggling to recruit in that space as we were growing as a company. But COVID and hybrid working kind of changed all of that. And now we find ourselves being a kind of hotbed for recruitment. Stroud's a really kind of thriving place in terms of a place to live. And then combining that with sustainability and how important that is, I think young people are seeing it as a career, but also a life choice for people, which is really, really important. And if we can get that balance right as a company, but also as a country, that balance between it being a career choice as well as a life choice, I think we've got a really good chance to preserve the planet for the future. Yeah,
sounds good. So if a young person wanted to come and work for a company like Ecotricity, what's the best advice you would give? Do you tend to take graduates or school leavers or a bit of a mixed bag?
Yeah, we actually take a mixed bag. I mean, we offer work experience as well, so that's a good way in to come and get some work experience. But we're one of those companies that are quite fleet-footed, and we don't have a kind of a very plain vanilla or very rigid structure in terms of who we bring in. It's really kind of job specific. But we also like initiative. So if someone's proactive and kind of contacts the company or contacts someone within the company, we'll have a good look at that and see where that role might fit. I think there's certainly in the modern world, proactivity and initiative from young people is seen really, really productively and positively. So just come and approach.
Good. Okay. Excellent.
That's what I would say to a young person.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Asif. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat, and hopefully this will inspire young people to look into careers in the green energy sector, sustainability, and take a look at what Ecotricity and the Green Britain Group are doing online. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for joining us.